A pleasant day to all of you. I am Apple P. Revilla, and I'm going to present to you my final paper entitled Influence of Servicescape on Image, Customer Perceived Value, and Revisit Intentions among Resorts in Suxurgen. The research was conducted among 17 DOT accredited resorts in Suxurgen. It has 459 respondents, but only 450 accomplished questionnaire was utilized in the study due to completeness issue. Respondents who stayed at the resort for at least one night were the participants of the study. Predictive causal was used as a research design, and structural equation modeling was utilized to generate the best fit model. Structural equation modeling allowed us to examine the causal relationship among concepts in the model and to test the model against the obtained measurement data to identify how well the proposed model fits the data. Ayakubuchi describes that in a model, SEM can estimate a series of interrelationship between latent constructs while addressing the measurement errors of the model. SEM approach has grown in popularity in hospitality industry research. Various authors such as Ali, Ryu, and Hussein, Ali and Amin, Ali, Hussein, and Raghavan used SEM approach in examining customer experience in Malaysian and Chinese restaurant. Meanwhile, this study in Servicescape of Resorts only receives limited attention in the study among the quality dimensions, only quality of food and Servicescape. This was the proposed conceptual framework. It can be seen that it was assumed that Servicescape elements have direct relationship with revisit intention. Furthermore, it is assumed that it has an indirect relationship through the mediating variable, which are the resort image and customer perceived value. So these are the results of the study. On SOP 1, which states what is the respondent's assessment of the elements of Servicescape in selected resorts in Suxurgen in terms of ambient condition, spatial layout, functionality, signs, symbols, and artifacts, cleanliness, and employees. The methodology utilized were structured questionnaire, adapted and modified according to the previous research of Shu et al., Hyung and Go and Awashti and Srivastava, and the national accommodation standards for resorts. So frequency, percentage, standard deviation, and weighted mean were also used to identify the groupings of respondents, calculate to look at the data set and the distance away from the mean, and to determine the mean score of the respondents' rating on Servicescape elements. Findings showed that the 17 accredited resorts participants presented by 450 respondents in Suxurgen rated agree the elements of Servicescape with an overall mean of 5.86. So, overall result implies that all Servicescape elements are essential, but were rated by the resort guests with only agree rating, which is 1 point below strongly agree. In SOP2, which states how do respondents evaluate the selected resorts in Suxurgen in terms of resort image, customer perceived value, and revisit intentions. Methodology utilized were structured questionnaire, frequency, percentage, standard deviation, and weighted mean. As a result, the resort image got an overall mean of 5.91 and was interpreted as agree. This implies that respondents agree that resort in Suxurgen have strong brand image. Moreover, in the customer perceived value got an overall mean of 5.86 and interpreted as agree. This implies that goods and services offered by the resort are of good value and enough for the price they are paying. It was also found that respondents' overall rating in their likelihood of revisiting the resort is 6.0. It is interpreted as likely. This implies that the resort has a positive revisit intention to the resorts in Soxurgen. On SOP3, which states, does Servicescape significantly influence the resort image, customer perceived value, and revisit intention in selected resorts in Soxurgen? For its methodology, SEM was utilized to test the significant relationship between Servicescape elements, resort image, customer perceived value, and revisit intention among resorts in Soxurgen. Results shows that there are positive and significant relationship between, number one, Servicescape and resort image. Number two, Servicescape element and customer perceived value. Number three, resort image and the customer perceived value. Number four, Servicescape elements and revisit intentions. Number five, customer perceived value and revisit intention. However, resort image has no positive and significant relationship to revisit intentions. On SOP4, which states, do resort image and customer perceived value mediates the significant and positive relationship between Servicescape and revisit intentions? For its methodology, SEM was employed to determine the mediating effects of image and customer perceived value to Servicescape and revisit intentions. So the result of the study shows that Servicescape elements to revisit intentions and resort image to customer perceived value and resort image to revisit intention all have indirect effect. Moreover, customer perceived value partially mediated Servicescape elements and revisit intentions. On SOP5, which states, what are the challenges encountered in the resort's Servicescape? Methodology utilized were structured interview guide modified using the existing literature. The recordings during the interview were transcribed. And it was found that the respondents encountered many challenges among resorts in Soxurgen, mainly the problems with facilities and the slowness of service. And finally, on SOP6, which states, how can an integrated structural model be developed on the service atmosphere components of resorts that will meet customers' expectation and boost their satisfaction in Soxurgen? So the structural equation modeling was performed using analysis model moment structure or AMOS to test the proposed interrelationship among Servicescape, resort image, customer perceived value, and revisit intentions. The fully developed model was tested against the data using SEM as a conceptual or theoretical structure or model, and its fit to the sample data was also evaluated. The results shows in the final model fit value has successfully met the criteria set by each index. CMIN/DF less than 3.0. NFI, TLI, CFI, GFI is greater than 0.95. And RM is EA or root mean square error approximate less than 0.05 with a p-close of greater than 0.05. So this means that the final model fits well with the data which can best explain the revisit intentions to the customers. Additionally, the result implies that Servicescape elements were a good predictor of resort image, customer perceived value, and revisit intentions. Moreover, the findings indicate that customer perceived value can predict revisit intentions. So this is the initial SEM and the final SEM. So based on the results, the amount of variance explained by the combined influence of Servicescape, resort image, customer perceived value on revisit intentions is 64%. Particularly, Servicescape significantly predicts the revisit intentions with a beta value of 0.68. Moreover, the path coefficient of the relationship between Servicescape elements and customer perceived value and the customer perceived value to revisit intentions were 0.71 and 0.15 respectively. So it indicates that customer perceived value has a mediating role in the relationship between Servicescape elements and revisit intentions. Meanwhile, the linkage between Servicescape elements and resort image to customer perceived value was supported by an estimate of 0.63 and 0.11 respectively. So these results suggested that resort image is a good predictor only for customer perceived value, but not on revisit intention between Servicescape elements and revisit intentions. So this is the goodness of fit results. Conclusions. Number one, all Servicescape elements of ambient conditions, spatial layout, functionality, signs, symbols, and artifacts, cleanliness, and employees are significantly important in resorts achieving an increase in revisit intentions and linked to resort image and customer perceived value. However, these elements are still one notch below the maximum rating, and continued improvement is necessary to reach the highest ratings. Number two, customer perceived value is a significant factor in attaining revisit intentions. The increase in customers' perceived value also would increase the likelihood of revisiting the resorts. Number three, generally, guests' perceptions varies in magnitude, meaning that all key elements of Servicescape directly influence resort image, customer perceived value, and revisit intention. Number four, the study affirmed that customer perceived value is a significant predictor of revisit intentions along Servicescape elements of the resort's setting, revealing that customers are not only looking for quality service but likewise for quality of physical environment. Number five, it is concluded that guests are very particular to the cleanliness and functionality of facilities such as toilet, Wi-Fi, and accessibility to minor needs, which they consider as challenges that could also affect their perception of the whole service of the resorts. Lastly, the structural model fits well. The model shows that Servicescape elements have significant direct and indirect effect on revisit intentions through customer perceived value. This implies that customer perceived value is a factor that explains the relationship between Servicescape elements and revisit intentions. For the recommendations, the study suggests that creating a high quality and appealing resort environment is not an option for management, but rather an important aspect of service quality. Resort management in Soxorgen should make an increase in revisit intentions by designing and improving the elements of functionality, cleanliness, and subject employees to more training on customer service and guest relations, which may enhance the revisit intentions of the customers. Since the DOT has its resort standards, the regional, provincial, and even local tourism councils should strictly regulate these establishments by monitoring and examining the compliance based on the criteria and making the safety and security of customers a priority. This would be of great help seeing the region in its growing tourist destination in the country. It is recommended that the model being the best fit model for revisiting intentions be adopted in formulating management policies and regulations of resorts in Soxorgen. Future research in this area could focus on the role of Servicescape elements as determinants of customer satisfaction and behavioral intentions, focusing on a more diverse respondents in order to build a more inclusive model that better explains the relationship and examine the proposed relationship in other types of hotels and industries.